The moment you stop talking to her, something changes. Not necessarily because she loved you, not necessarily because she wanted you, but because human beings are deeply affected by what suddenly disappears. Think about it. The good morning texts stop. The random conversations vanish. The notifications that once carried your name no longer arrive, and suddenly a silence enters her life where your presence used to be. Most men believe that when they stop talking to a woman, she instantly forgets them and moves on without a second thought. But psychology tells a different story because absence has a strange power. Sometimes your presence becomes visible only after it's gone. Imagine walking through your home every day. You don't notice the clock on the wall, you don't think about it. It simply exists in the background of your life. But the day someone removes it, you immediately notice the empty space. Not because you loved the clock, but because your mind became accustomed to its presence. And that is exactly what happens when you suddenly disappear from someone's emotional landscape. Tonight, we're going to explore the hidden thoughts that often arise when you stop talking to her. Not the fantasies sold by dating gurus, not the manipulative games designed to trigger reactions, but the real psychology. The silent conversations that happen inside her mind, the questions she may never ask out loud, the emotions she may never admit, and most importantly, what her reaction reveals about her feelings, her attachment, and even your own value. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than 1,000 conversations, and what she thinks when you stop talking to her may surprise you. Part 1. Why did he disappear? The first thing she feels is rarely heartbreak, it's curiosity. Human beings are wired to seek explanations. When something familiar suddenly changes, the brain immediately starts searching for answers. That's why the first question she often asks herself isn't, "Do I miss him?" It's, "Why did he stop talking to me?" Notice how powerful that question is. Because uncertainty creates more mental activity than certainty. Carl Jung once observed that what remains unconscious often controls us more than what is fully understood, and silence creates an information vacuum. The mind hates vacuums, it rushes to fill them. Maybe she tells herself you're busy. Maybe she assumes you're upset. Maybe she wonders if she said something wrong. Maybe she starts replaying old conversations looking for clues, a message she ignored, a joke she didn't laugh at, a moment where your energy suddenly changed, and now she's mentally revisiting scenes she never paid attention to before. This is one of the great paradoxes of human psychology. When someone is always available, we rarely analyze their presence. But when they're gone, we begin analyzing everything. It's like hearing a song every day on the radio. You barely notice it, but stop hearing it for a month, and suddenly the melody returns to your mind. Not because the song changed, because your awareness changed. And this is where many men make a mistake. They assume her curiosity automatically means deep love. It doesn't. Curiosity is not always affection, but it is attention. And attention is powerful, because the moment someone starts wondering about you, you've already entered their thoughts. The silence becomes a mystery, and the human mind is naturally attracted to mysteries. The question is no longer whether you're talking. The question becomes why you're not, and sometimes that question echoes much louder than your voice ever did. Part 2. She starts comparing life with you versus life without you. You never truly know the value of something while it's happening. You discover its value when it's missing. After the initial curiosity fades, something deeper begins. The questions slowly change. No longer, "Why did he stop talking to me?" Now it becomes, "What feels different?" This is the stage where your absence stops being a mystery and starts becoming an experience. Because every relationship, no matter how casual, creates patterns. The brain loves patterns. A certain person checks in every evening. A certain notification appears every morning. A certain conversation happens after a stressful day. Over time, these moments become woven into the fabric of everyday life, and most people don't notice the thread until it's pulled away. Imagine walking into a room you've entered thousands of times one day. A piece of furniture is gone. You can't immediately explain what's different, but something feels off. Something feels incomplete. That is often how absence works. Not like a dramatic explosion, more like a subtle emptiness, an invisible space, a missing rhythm. And this is where she begins comparing. Not consciously at first. The comparison happens beneath awareness. A funny thing happens during her day. She sees something she'd normally tell you about. Then she remembers you're no longer there. A difficult moment arrives. She reaches for the comfort of a familiar conversation. Then she remembers the conversation no longer exists. A victory happens. Good news arrives. Something exciting occurs. And for a brief second, your name crosses her mind. Not because she's obsessed, not because she's desperate, but because you became connected to certain emotional experiences. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote that human beings are haunted by absence. We feel the shape of what is no longer there, and that's exactly what begins happening now. Your absence starts creating contrast, and contrast reveals value. Think about sunlight. You rarely appreciate it on a bright summer day, but spend weeks in darkness and suddenly a single ray feels precious. The same principle applies to people. When someone becomes consistently present, their value can become invisible, not because they aren't important, but because they become familiar, and familiarity often hides appreciation. Then silence arrives, and suddenly the mind begins measuring, not what was said, but what was felt. Not the conversations, but the emotional experience those conversations created. This is the moment she starts asking a deeper question. Did he bring something meaningful into my life that I never fully acknowledged? And depending on the answer, the next stage can become surprisingly emotional, because curiosity examines the mind, but realization touches the heart. Part 3. When silence forces her to face her true feelings. The most dangerous thing about silence is that it removes distractions and leaves people alone with the truth. There comes a point when curiosity is exhausted. The questions have been asked, the possibilities have been imagined, the reasons have been analyzed, and yet you're still gone. This is where something profound begins to happen, because as long as someone remains available, the heart can postpone its decision. It can stay comfortable. It can stay uncertain. It can keep saying, "I'll figure it out later." But absence removes the luxury of later. Suddenly, what was taken for granted becomes something that can actually be lost. And loss has a unique ability to reveal feelings. The ancient philosopher Epictetus taught that we often fail to appreciate things because we assume they will always be there. We treat tomorrow as a guarantee. We assume people will remain exactly where we left them, until one day, they don't. And when that happens, reality asks a question the heart can no longer avoid. What did this person truly mean to me? This is where many women begin experiencing emotional conflict. Part of her wants to move forward. Another part keeps revisiting memories. Part of her tells herself it doesn't matter. Another part notices that your absence keeps returning to her thoughts. And the more she tries to dismiss it, the more she wonders why she can't. Because emotions rarely reveal themselves during comfort. They reveal themselves during contrast. Think about oxygen. You never think about it while breathing normally, but hold your breath for a minute, and suddenly it becomes the most important thing in the world. Likewise, feelings often become visible when access disappears. Maybe she remembers conversations that once seemed ordinary, moments she barely acknowledged, small acts of kindness, support during difficult days. The way you listened, the way you understood things others missed, the way your presence created a sense of familiarity and safety. And now, viewed through the lens of absence, those moments appear different, more meaningful, more valuable, more alive. This doesn't necessarily mean she was secretly in love, but it does mean she's finally seeing the emotional footprint you left behind. Carl Jung believed that what we resist often reveals what matters most. And sometimes, the harder someone tries not to think about another person, the more clearly they discover how much space that person occupies inside them. The truth is simple. Silence becomes a mirror, and that mirror reflects feelings that constant communication often hides. For some women, the reflection is brief. For others, it becomes impossible to ignore, because eventually, a realization begins to emerge. A realization that leads to the final stage, the moment she stops asking what happened and starts asking whether she should do something about it. Part 4. The decision she makes about you. Every silence eventually reaches a crossroads, not a moment of wondering, but a moment of choosing. By now, the mystery is gone. The questions have been asked, the memories have been revisited, the emotions have surfaced, and what remains is a decision, because no one can live forever in uncertainty. Sooner or later, the mind demands closure. Sooner or later, the heart chooses a direction. This is the stage most people never talk about. Because while everyone focuses on what she feels, very few focus on what she decides. And feelings alone change nothing. It is decisions that shape reality. For some women, your absence becomes a passing chapter. They acknowledge the space you once occupied, appreciate the memories, and continue forward. Not because you lacked value, but because their path is moving elsewhere. And that's an important lesson. Sometimes someone can appreciate you deeply and still not choose you. Value and commitment are not always the same thing, but for others, something different happens. The silence becomes a wake-up call. Your disappearance forces them to recognize what familiarity once concealed, the conversations they looked forward to, the emotional support they quietly relied upon, the comfort of knowing someone genuinely cared. And suddenly they begin seeing you not as background noise in their life, but as a meaningful presence. This is often the moment when they consider reaching out, not always with dramatic confessions, not always with grand declarations. Sometimes it's a simple message, a casual question, a small excuse to reopen a door that silence closed. Because the truth is, people rarely chase what they never valued, but they often return to what they underestimated. Yet here's the deepest lesson of all. The real purpose of your silence should never be to manipulate someone into missing you. It should never be a strategy, a game, a psychological trick. Because anything built on manipulation eventually collapses under its own weight. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded us that our power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves, and that's where the focus belongs. Not on making her think about you, but on becoming a man who no longer depends on being thought about. A man whose worth is not determined by messages, attention, or validation. A man who continues building his life whether someone stays or leaves. Because paradoxically, that is what makes absence powerful. Not the silence itself, but the strength behind it. The quiet confidence that says, I value connection, but I do not beg for it. I appreciate people, but I do not chase those who don't appreciate me. I can love, care, and invest deeply without losing myself. And when a man reaches that place, something remarkable happens. His silence stops being a weapon and becomes a reflection of self-respect. So what does she think when you stop talking to her? Maybe she becomes curious. Maybe she notices your absence. Maybe she reflects on memories she once overlooked. Maybe she discovers feelings she never fully understood. Or maybe she simply continues her journey. But perhaps the more important question is not what she thinks. Perhaps the real question is, what do you discover about yourself in the silence? Because every ending reveals something. Every absence teaches something. Every unanswered message, every closed chapter, every person who drifts away leaves behind a lesson. Some lessons teach you who truly values you. Others teach you where you've been seeking validation. And the wisest lessons teach you that your peace should never depend on another person's attention. Lao Tzu wrote, "Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner." Read that again. Most suffering begins when we become obsessed with what is happening inside someone else's mind. But freedom begins when we return to our own. So if you've stopped talking to someone, don't spend all your energy wondering whether she misses you. Ask yourself whether you're becoming the person you're meant to be. Because the greatest power isn't making someone think about you. The greatest power is creating a life so meaningful that whether they stay, leave, return, or disappear, you continue moving forward. Stronger, wiser, calmer, and finally free. If this message resonated with you, remember, sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is your silence, and sometimes the most important person you'll ever reconnect with is yourself.